agree with Alan Greenspan, we ought to just eliminate the debt ceiling. Oh, absolutely, we do.
The ability of almost every working American to access more credit than they should have been able to masked the underlying fact that lower and middle class incomes were not rising.
That's not a tenable strategy. Isn't now the time to eliminate it? Oh, we've been time a long time ago to eliminate it.
Let's put aside terrorism. Let's talk only about our own homegrown animals that are patrolling America right now. So it goes down to the simplest thing. Be prepared, be vigilant.
A brief respite from the heat here in Virginia. We have some rain, we have some wind, we have some cooler temperatures for August. Nice day. August 9th, 2016. It's the I Am Liberty show. I don't often put the date in or the episode number, which is maybe a failing of mine in podcasting, but I like this thing to be pretty free-flowing. Off of a tremendous weekend. My son turned 5 over the weekend, and it was a very important weekend, very fun, a lot of partying, a lot of celebratory business to be had. And then we returned to the real world. He's in school now, dropping him off at school. It's a brutal thing. It's a brutal thing leaving your child out to fend for himself amongst the wolves. It really is, because you never know who's a wolf anymore. You know? And you know, but you know they're everywhere. You never know who's a wolf, but you know they're everywhere. You know that behind every smiling face there's a possibility that someone will take everything you have. That someone would disembowel you if they if they had the right timing and the right chance and the right opportunity. That's the scary thing of life. We never know who the wolves are anymore. We never know. And as our president on his last, on the home stretch, he pushes forward more radical ideas, and what I was thinking about the other day is how lucky we are that he got stopped on so many of the things he got stopped on. Thanks to the brilliant design of the United States government, and maybe the two-party system in electing a president is a flawed piece of that system, but the system of checks and balances is one that we really shouldn't underestimate, and we shouldn't badmouth as much. Because when this man decided he wanted to bring radical Syrians in, he got some blowback. When he decided he wanted to grant amnesty to millions of people who broke the law to get in this country, and let's be just completely honest about it, they broke the law to get in the country. There's no one or two ways around that. He was stopped by the Supreme Court. And this is where that checks and balance is so amazing. It's such an amazing concept, and, we have to thank you-know-who for that. But I don't want to get into the government. I don't want to get into the founding fathers. I'm not in that kind of a mood today. I'm coming back to work off of a 3-day weekend. What kind of a mood am I in? It's a great question. I've been doing a lot of writing lately, really, really digging into the prepping world. I've been paying a special amount of attention to the Bug Out. The Bug Out Part 2 will be on Wednesday night live, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time at prepperbroadcasting.com. For those of you who listen to this show on iTunes, I don't even know if you know because I do such a bad job at marketing, but if you listen to I Am Liberty exclusively on iTunes or Stitcher, then you're getting this show from my lips and account to your ears. And what you may be missing out on is the live broadcast of I Am Liberty, which happens every Wednesday, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time at the website prepperbroadcasting.com. We are just one entity, the I Am Liberty show, but we are also broadcast live. Like I said, the show is broadcast live at prepperbroadcasting.com. And I hadn't got a single message or Twitter pop, anything along those lines until I started recording this show. Now all of a sudden Twitter's abuzz. I guess I shouldn't have asked a question before I started recording. That was probably my fault. So it's going to be a buzzy kind of morning, I guess. I guess that's what we can count on. But we're paying attention to the Bug Out series at I Am Liberty on the live show this Wednesday. Don't miss it. It's going hand in hand with the Survive the Bug Out Challenge, which the I Am Liberty Survive the Bug Out Challenge is an exciting thing to me because it's working. Because it's working and people are joining and we're going to have fun. We are going to have a whole hell of a lot of fun September 2nd when we leave our houses in the darkness and traverse the land to our bug out location. This is an exercise. You know, if we're not going to test our skills, if we're only going to get on prepper forums and survivalist blogs and comment about, you know, how the New World Order is taking over and AI is going to rule the world and it's going to be like Skynet all over again. If we're merely going to make purchases of Kershaw knives and write, you know, almost snotty comments on blogs and forums about the end of the world or the corruption in the government, then what percentage of prepared and what percentage of preparedness are we really achieving? You can expect more from James Walton at I Am Liberty, more contests similar to the one that we're hosting currently, which is the I Am Liberty Survive the Bug Out Challenge, which is, sure, you may have the best equipment. Sure, you may have the best bug out bag in existence. Sure, you may have a great plan. But have you ever actually put it to the test physically? Have you ever physically put this challenge, put your equipment and your plans to the test? We need more of that in this community. That's what we need, right? We need more of that in this community. We need more metrics and measurables to be able to say, oh man, I need to improve here. Oh man, I need this, I need that. And though this is going to be a whole lot of fun, we're going to have a lot of fun with the I Am Liberty Survive the Bug Out Challenge, it's also going to be an audit. It's going to be a very basic audit of your bug out plan. So if you're interested in joining, the rest of the contestants, there will be prizes. I'm even thinking about creating a custom medal. I think I'm going to. I've been looking at that because I am also going down the path of doing some virtual races. Yeah, I'm thinking about doing some virtual races with exclusive content for the racers only. So you'll get an exclusive podcast or an exclusive scenario that's narrated by yours truly that you'll be running, and the reason that you'll be running. And I'm thinking about doing, some virtual races. So I've been looking at medals, and I think the person who dominates in the I Am Liberty Survive the Bug Out Challenge deserves a nice medal. So one of the prizes will be a medal. It will be a custom medal. We'll probably throw a backpack on it, or maybe the I Am Liberty logo, something along those lines. Yes, and I'm very excited. I'm very excited about it. It's not that I sat up and came up with a really cool idea, figured out this great idea, this great plan. Oh man, how exciting. What's exciting to me about this contest is that people are taking notice. People are doing it. People are jumping on board, and that's what's exciting. It's the idea that the human race still believes they can improve that makes me excited, right? We're not all as conceited as the Hollywood hill-lining monsters that we see on TV every night, right? That people worship and idolize. We're not that. That's not what it is to be human. We are vain, don't get me wrong. We are a conceited bunch. But at the same time, people still want to improve, and that's what's exciting to me. So look for more of these contests. I haven't figured out what the next one will be. I would like to do a race in the fall. Please let me know at I Am Liberty Show, my Twitter handle, or let me know at iamlibertyshow@gmail.com what you would think about more of these physical prepper challenges. More physical prepper challenges, because that's what I'm into. You guys know what I'm into, right? You know I'm into fitness. You know I'm into Muay Thai. You know I'm into combat sports and hunting and fishing. I like to get out and see the world. That's what I like. So, that said, that's the situation. That is the situation on the I Am Liberty Survive the Bug Out Challenge. If you want to join, go to www. Anybody do that anymore? www.iamlibertyshow.com, and you'll see a little win tab on the side. You can click on the various stories and things that I've written about the challenge itself. There's also plugs on Twitter and plugs on my Facebook page also, so there's many ways to join. Oh, and also if you share the I Am Liberty Survive the Bug Out Challenge with your friends through social media, and you'll be awarded one of my new books, which is going to be out in a couple months, How to Survive a Mass Shooting. How to survive a mass shooting in the active shooter scenario. Very important. Very important. I'm taking some knowledge that I've garnered through doing different classes and earning different certifications on the topic, and also my experience in training staff members of my own. And with that information, I'm putting together a nice, short, and to-the-point manual for surviving a situation like this, because it would be insane to decree that we aren't moving into a time where these things happen more and more often. And like I said, America can be powerful. They just have to be prepared, right? If we're unprepared, then we're like little mammals stored away in a nest somewhere, hoping not to get eaten by the big scary viper, right? Where we're big wide eyes on the sides of our heads. We're clearly prey animals. Or we can be the alphas, and we can be prepared, and we can be prepared to conquer. Those are our options. So that said, it's James Walton with I Am Liberty. We'll get this show kicked off now. That's my monologue. We're going to talk Suicide Squad. We're going to talk a little bit about Trump taxes, and God only knows what else comes up today. All right, so we'll be right back. Humpty Dumpty sat on a wall. Humpty Dumpty had a great fall, and the media went crazy, and no one talked about anything else for 3 days. I don't understand this world we live in, and this, when you look at the news on a slow day, it really does explain a lot. Don't you think? It really does explain a lot. When you look at the news and what's a headline on a slow day without a killing, without a Muslim monster coming out from the board between the woodwork and slaughtering people, a slow news day where Donald Trump says something that makes a lot of sense, which is, to get rid of the estate tax. He came out and said, let's get rid of the estate tax and let's tax, or let's make child care costs tax deductible, which parents around the world rejoice, or around the country rejoice, because child care is insane, the cost of child care. And whether you agree with it or not, that's the highlight of what he said. Not super exciting, but that's the reality. And on a slow news day, all I see is Hillary fell. Humpty Dumpty sat on a wall. The Queen, she took a dive. And this is headline news. Is she fit to be president? Is she healthy enough to be president? Is she this enough to be... Who cares? You think that's going to get in the way? She ignited the entire Middle East, and you think that the fact that she fell down some steps is going to make people change their minds about Hillary Clinton, who's actually up in the polls. Hillary's up in the polls. And I think it's because Donald Trump is so unappealing, to be honest with you. I think we're going to lose this thing based on the lack of appeal that Donald Trump brings to the average mindless American. And why can I say a thing like that? The average mindless American. Average mindless American. Because when I look out into the sea of people, I don't know if it's their fault that they're shallow. I don't know if it's their fault that they're mindless. But when I look, maybe it's not the people, maybe it's the news outlets. Maybe I'm getting it wrong. I just don't see the depth that I would expect in a human in the year 2016. A lot of people, I look at them and I see little lemmings, little rats running from this challenge to the next challenge, to this cheese, to the water bowl, to the wheel, to the running wheel, to the bowl, to the cheese, to the water, and back again. And they're looking for the most terrifying and the most horrific thing to talk about with their friends at the coffee bar. I don't see the depth in humans anymore. I don't see it. Where's Where's the news? Where's the news about things that actually count, the things that actually matter? I mean, rather than a news story, if I had owned a news outlet, rather than a news story, if it were a slow day in news like today, I would just say, you know what? Let's just post one of Dante Gabriel Rossetti's beautiful pieces, right? Let's paint the Blessed or let's post rather the Blessed Damsel by Dante Gabriel Rossetti on the front page of the paper. And let's just have people enjoy it. Let's make it the headline blog on our website, and let's just have people enjoy the greatness of fine art. What's so scary about that? I mean, if you want to get into the maudlin and the bloody and the nasty and the scary, okay, here we go. We got a slow day of news. Let's repost The Telltale Heart by Edgar Allan Poe. Let's repost it. Throw it up there. You know what I mean? I'm going to start doing these things. We have hundreds of years of incredible art and newsworthy work, writings, literature that people should spend their time reading rather than reading about Humpty Dumpty and how she fell off a wall. I mean, you are what you eat. You are what you consume, and your brain is the same thing. If you consume this nonsense news that's out there every day, then God, how can you be something great? If you are continuously ingesting this nonsensical news about, you know, the battle and the corrupt and miserable undertaking that is politics, how can you ever ascend? How can you ever ascend? How can a man ascend if he's subject to this type of rubbish on a day-to-day basis, right? If your choice is between newsless news or murder and rampage, you know, success is everything in a capitalistic society, and they understand now more than ever how to get your attention, right? If a breast falls out, they get a 200,000 views. If a politician falls down, they get 300,000 views. If you post a great poem from the 17th century, you get 2 views. And I don't know what that means for our society, but it can't be good. You look at today's art, you know, I'm really not a fan of modern art. You know, modern art is one of those things that I struggle with it. I really struggle with it. And maybe if I were in a gallery of just modern art, I might be able to get into it, maybe some pieces. I can't get into the sculpting and the melting of a street cone, melted into the side of a grill, a Weber grill with some hair on the top of it and some marble stuck into the melted plastic. And this is modern art. Maybe a sign of the times, maybe something along those lines, but when you take that and you put it up against some of the romanticist artists, it just so pales in comparison. I mean, it's laughable, really. It's like a child's clay project from third grade art class against something that is the pinnacle of what can be done with paint and a brush. You know, that time period of art when women were just... The idolatry of women was so incredible and so deep and amazing. You know, you look at those pieces from that period of time and you see how women are drawn up as almost angels, in the detail in the paintings, you know, of the skin, of the hand, of the hair, of the eyes, of the blushing cheeks of a woman. And it's an unbelievable thing. And you see the de-evolution of a canvas with one rectangular line, a red rectangular line, and another green circular line, and this is art to today. I just can't get with it. It's hard. It's really hard. You go back and you look at the classical religious pieces that were painted back in the 1600s, right? You see the stained glass artwork. You see the paintings of biblical passages that were brought from words now. right? These just wrap your head around this fact, okay? In order for something in the 1700s to be painted with such exquisite detail, right, as those religious pieces you see from that point in time, these people, they never saw television. They never saw a single magazine. They never saw a single picture book. They never saw a single color illustration. These amazing artists, right? They took the words of the Bible, the beautiful poetry, the beautiful wisdom of the Bible, and they transformed that into paintings that are so breathtaking. Right? You're talking about a man staring into the words of the Bible, right? And translating that from ink and paper to wax paints and canvas in something with such detail that it's hard to even imagine a reproduction. It's hard to even imagine something like that being reproduced. And we have melted street cones and blown glass with dog collars and dog leashes wrapped around them and foreign matter spread throughout, and then they set the whole thing on fire and put it out with urine and they sell it as fine art. And I don't know, when you look at the news, you can understand why we are a shallow and miserable people. Just in the contrast of the art. You look at the art, you can feel the same way. Right? You can feel the exact same way. Terrible. Just no spirit in it. But on to modern day art. I spent my weekend. Well, actually, it wasn't my weekend. It was Thursday. Thursday night, I decided, you know what? For those of you who don't know, I'm a tremendous fan of the Joker. Yes, a tremendous fan of Superman and also a tremendous fan of the Joker. It's the yin and yang. It's the balance I always talk about, right? You have to draw a balance in life. And these characters do just that, right? You have the best of the best, the unbeatable, all-powerful, godlike goodness of Superman, the innocence. And then you have the evil that knows no limits in the Joker, the diabolical and tremendous Joker. The greatest comic book villain ever, in my opinion. Possibly one of the greatest villains of all time. Period. So Thursday night, the Suicide Squad hit the theaters, right? Suicide Squad hit the theaters Thursday night, and for a guy like me, that's an exciting thing, right? I was excited. I said, you know what? I'm going to go out and see it. I'm going to go out and see it. And the night before, I was hit by a bunch of reviews, and I don't know about you, but I think movie critics are possibly some of the worst creatures on the planet. I really do. I'm not 100% sure what it is they're trying to achieve in their criticisms of movies or what it is they're trying to see when they go to a movie. But they're never happy. They never enjoy themselves. They always have some terrible thing to say about someone else's hard work. And that really, at the end of the day, is a critic, right? I guess, at the end of the day. Hopefully, I'm less of a critic and more of an entertainer in my eyes. That's what I see. But the critics they jumped all over the movie. The movie is terrible, it's miserable, it's nothing. The Joker was, they killed the Joker's character. They said he was overdone, he overacted. You know what I mean? Jared Leto's character was everything movie villains shouldn't be. Things like that. Things of that nature. And I go into all movies like a child, just so you know. See, my imagination is always teetering on the brink. You have to understand that. This is why I love film. This is why I rarely have anything bad to say about any film. Now, I've walked out of films before. I'm not going to say they're all great. But when it comes to a highly imaginative film, where I know I'm going into this film that was ripped from the pages of comic books, first of all, my imagination is such and my mind is such that it doesn't need but a breath to blow me off the edge, right? I don't need but a breath to be blown off into space, into a world where I can believe almost anything that is being fed to me in a movie theater. Very different than how I am in reality, but when it comes to film, when it comes to art, I don't need a lot of, massaging. I don't require much massage. I can get right into what's going on. I understand it. Now, that said, I show up 9 o'clock. I show up about 8:50 for the 9 o'clock showing. Suicide Squad. If you don't know anything about it, it's a team of villains you've never heard of from comic books you have, right? Batman villains, Nightwing villains. People who aren't the Two-Faces and the Riddlers of the world, or the Jokers and the Catwomans of the world, right? Harley Quinn, Killer Croc, Deadshot, Captain Boomerang. These villains, you have never heard of them, and maybe you heard of Harley Quinn, Joker's kind of sidekick, and my one problem with the film was that Harley Quinn and the Joker were madly in love, and he was spending all his time in an attempt to save her throughout this film. But it's contrary to what the Joker's real motivations were with Harley Quinn, and when in fact he loves nothing and no one. And in one of the pinnacle stories of the DC universe with the Joker and Harley Quinn, he's shown throwing her off a plane at the end of the story. He really there's a limited amount of feelings that the Joker possesses, I think, for any living creature. He's an agent of chaos, as they said in The Dark Knight. But anyway, I go into the movie 9 o'clock, sold out. I choked on my tongue. I couldn't even believe it. Sold out, 9 o'clock p.m. on a Thursday night before the movie's even officially out on a Friday. And I think to myself the irony of this situation as I stood there with my debit card in my right hand, deflated, looking on and thinking about the ridicule that I took my whole, teenage life, the ridicule I would take for liking these types of characters and watching the Batman animated series and reading comic books, and the ridicule that my friends and myself were subject to because we followed this kind of plot line. And here we stand, some 15, 20 years later, and naturally we were ahead of our time. I guess we can just say that. We can rest on our laurels and say we were ahead of our time. But it was just the irony that the movie I thought I was going to see, where there would be, some people there, it might be a little packed but not super packed. There'd be people there with green wigs on like the Joker, pretending they're, living out some kind of brash fantasy. But what it turned out to be was me standing there with my mouth gaping wide, not able to get into the movie. So that said, I checked the other showings. There was a 3D showing at 9:40, which cost about $50 more per ticket. And I was so furious at the time that I said, you know what? I'm going to spend this money and retire to the bar over here and have myself a Legend Brown Ale and wait 20 minutes before I head on into the theater. And I did just that. I sat there, I watched people. I watched a young couple at the end of the bar with their friend, the third wheel type. I watched their interaction. I watched people come up to the bar and get carded by the most miserable bartender you could ever come across. Disdainfully, the need for your ID. The need for your ID and the need to open her mouth to ask for it was painful. It looked like it actually hurt her. But I swilled on, right? I drank on. I enjoyed the brown ale. It was delicious. And I slipped slowly into the movie theater with my goofy glasses on at 9:40 and began to watch it. And to be 100% honest with you, I enjoyed myself thoroughly. Really, I did. I enjoyed myself, barring the relationship between Margot Robbie's iteration of Harley Quinn and the Joker. I think I enjoyed myself. It's an action movie. It's a summer action movie with comic book characters. What are you people looking for in life? What type of pleasure are you trying to get out of life? They beat creatures' heads open with bats. They shoot creatures' heads open with rifles. They slice creatures' heads off with swords, with samurai swords. What are you looking for? What are you looking for in a film? I can't figure this out anymore. Movie critics have all but driven me near to madness, really. They want every movie to be Dancing with Wolves or Silence of the Lamb. I don't know what they want. I can't figure them out. But myself, I like an extra large cherry Coke, and I like to go into sort of like a hyperglycemic event in the theater and go into an altered universe to escape the Muslim killings all over the world and the horror that is the presidential election. That's what the movies mean to me. That's what the movies mean to me. I don't know what they do for you, but that's what they do for me. So, what else can be said? That's all I can do. That's all I can do is be me. What else do we talk about? What do you want to talk about? I'm writing an article about martial law currently. Martial law. Can you believe Venezuela? Can you believe a nation like Venezuela? You remember the brilliant, just to see how these things always play out for these brilliant people on the left. These brilliant people who lean so far to the left. This is how their worlds always play out. You remember Hugo Chavez and how he set up this brilliant base, this brilliant structure down there in Venezuela, and this wonderful socialist paradise in Venezuela where they would do it. Control the price of things so that everyone could have one. Everyone can have a TV because they'll be $5 forever. Because I decree so. The beautiful socialist haven of Venezuela has turned into an example of all things communist and socialist, right? I don't even know if I want to talk about Venezuela. I feel like I've beaten the topic to death. I feel like I've murdered the topic of Venezuela. I've just slayed it. But it is a very real collapse situation that's happening in our world today. If you're looking for an example of just how quickly a society can fall, look at Venezuela. Look what happens, and take into account what happens when the water stops running and the food stops making its way to store shelves. What people become, right? What the green tea sipping people, the sophisticants, right? What they turn into when there's no longer anything to eat. There was an article up today about the 0.01% in their swanky bunkers and safe rooms. And I didn't read it because I've read it a million times. I know the story. I don't need to read the story. It's no joke that the elite all over the world are preparing, right? The elite of the elite understand the uncertainty. And you might hate them, right? You might be a bum loser who never made any money in your life and you think that it's another guy's fault. You might be that kind of person. You might be the kind of person that hates anybody with more than you. And what I will tell you is that's no way to live your life, first and foremost. But you may hate them. You may hate them, and you may think that they're fools and they're idiots, but they've idioted their way to billions of dollars and you haven't. So that's the key of the issue right there. The crux. What these elites know is that in this world there has to be room for contingency. And that's the reality, right? The 0.01% are preparing with swanky safe rooms outfitted for comfort, right? They're prepared to go inward and survive because they know, number one, that they're a target. They're a target of this neo... What is it really? It's a this neo-Marxist, this neo-communist, this neo-socialist, this neo-Red Guard revolution. This neo-Khmer Rouge that is coming for them and is mad and is angry at them for doing so well in life. And for the very fact that they worked hard and made money and did something with their life, they're angry with them. They want to hurt them physically, and they want to take their money away and distribute it amongst the people who've done nothing with themselves, who would most likely squander it. So they're preparing. They're looking at the futures. They're looking at the scope of what's happening in the world. people who have this kind of money have good connections, right? They don't make decisions in a vacuum. They understand what they're doing. That's how you make $1 billion. It doesn't just happen, right? You can't do it because you mop floors better than somebody else at your job. You know what it takes to make $40,000 a year. Imagine what it takes to make, a few $100 million a year. So that said, heed the warning, right? Let's not be foolish here. Let's not be foolish and think that we can outthink the most brilliant thinkers there are. The folks who have made their living making money, right? I mean, we're quickly coming to a time where we're going to need contingencies of our own. And it's very important that you understand that. It's very important that you understand that and not be afraid of that. You can't be afraid of that. I'm not going to lie to you. There was a time, a recent time, when I was getting afraid of being labeled. I was afraid about what other people were thinking about the content that I was pushing out. And I've done a complete 180 on that. And I think I want to close on that idea that there are going to be people out there who scoff you and mock you and make fun of your plans and ideas and the fact that you're preparing for something serious in the future. I just finished a kettlebell workout, so I'm a little out of breath. But so the people will laugh at you. People will ridicule you for claiming that, yes, I'm preparing for whatever it is you're preparing for. I have water. I have extra this. I stockpile that. And to your face, they will laugh and they will ridicule and maybe they will say things that are hurtful. But what makes you so powerful for admitting what it is your motivations are? This is what makes you so powerful in just being yourself and not hiding from what you are. Is that they may laugh at you in your face, yes. But when they go to bed at night, when the family's asleep, and the night is dark and still, and they're laying in their bed and their children are sleeping, and their house is locked up as best they can, and they're going over the events of the day, they're thinking about the news, you're going to sneak into their mind in that dark night. You know what I mean? When we have our worst and most terrible thoughts, you're going to slip into their mind. And they might laugh for a second. They might say, oh, that crazy guy. But what will also happen, and I guarantee you this will happen, especially in the dark of night when people have time to reflect, is they'll start to second guess their own level of preparedness based on you, based on your admission. Because in a way, you're giving them the okay to admit maybe you're not as prepared as you ought to be. So in that dark night while their family's asleep and the world seems to close in on them with their head on the pillow thinking about what's due and what's got to be done and where the kids have to go, you'll sneak into their mind. And by you saying, yes, I am a prepper and I'm not afraid of that, they'll start to think, even if just for a moment, they'll start to think, well, what if he's right? Well, what if she's right? And what if I'm drastically and terribly unprepared for what could be coming around the corner? And that's planting a seed. And that's planting a seed that could grow and could turn someone into a person who may be more like a zombie at the end of times or in a collapse situation. You might be turning them into someone who's prepared, and maybe they prepare and they hide and they sneak around. They don't tell anybody they're doing it. But guess what? It was your bravery that set that off. It was your bravery that planted that seed. So be who you are. That's my message. We're live tonight, Wednesday night, live 9 Eastern Standard Time at prepperbroadcasting.com. We're doing the second episode, the second deep dive into the bug out. All right, not a topic I usually touch on, but we're going to talk a lot about escape and evasion and other things. Tonight, live, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It's James Walton with I Am Liberty.